Welcome everybody, SamuraiRevolution here, and today we're going to do our Japanese nation review, going into the civilization bonus. So they have shrines of houses and they gather resources. You can do food 1 coin, and then they also have some ×2 home city cards, and then they also have some really unique cards like the daimyo and the shogun and stuff like that, which we'll get into later. But below there is my favorite unit combo, which is the Ashigaru Musk and the flaming arrows, and combined these two are insane. So the musketeers, you guys voted as the best musk, and then the flaming arrows are just insane, like combination of units. So you kind of have a culverin and a falconet mixed here because of how much range they have, which is really awesome to have, because basically like you can just train those and not have to really worry about other artillery too much, because they can take them out decently. There's no multiplier against them, but they do such good damage that they can take them out, and they have that range as well. And those paired with the musketeers, as you're seeing here, just does an excellent job. I have so many flaming arrows that it's not even funny at this point. Their siege is not the best, but to have a unit that is decent against other artillery and has a really great range is something that's fantastic. As you can see, they're just knocking them out. And then here's gonna be a long old clip of the musketeers going into action. So yeah, this is my favorite combo. It's kind of like my go-to overall.
All right, here we go.
I would say that if you're trying Japan for the first time, I would just try this combo out. It's very easy to use. The musketeers are so good with the other upgrades, which I also need to talk about. So they can get, obviously, your upgrades from cards. So they have one that increases damage against cavalry. They have an attack one. And then you can get the Golden Pavilion upgrades, and you can send in the arsenal from the council and get the upgrades from that arsenal too. So there's a very wide range of upgrades. It's kind of hard to get them all because they're from so many different areas. But once you get all the upgrades, the musketeers are solid. So I really recommend using them with the flaming arrows. So then we're going to jump into the next set here. So we got the unique units. I'm going to kind of go down through these, and then we'll show gameplay clips of each of them. So first one there is Yumi Archer. Has great boost late game compared to like the Yeoman, which is not really the best late game because there's not too many bonuses. These guys have some bonuses with them, so they're pretty solid there. Samurai, as most of you guys know, have area effect of damage, so they splash damage basically, and they're really great with siege. Solid in mass, we'll see that in video. The Naginata Rider is a really underrated cav unit. Japan normally isn't associated with cav too much, but these guys are kind of like discounted Lancers in a way. They're not as amazing as Lancers, but they have a card that increases their multiplier, and they do a great job. I think it increased multiplier attack, and they did do a great job versus light infantry. So I really highly recommend giving the Naginatas a chance. And then below there, we got the Daimyo, the Shogun, and the Hatamoto Samurai, which are all fantastic bonuses for Japan, and we'll see that in the clips too. The Daimyo and the Shogun are some that I think is extremely overpowered, that people don't really give as much credit. Not necessarily, okay, so they, on top of their area bonus, like, so they give an attack bonus to the units around them. Of course, that's like decent, but the mobile spawn point and shipment point is so ridiculous in this game. You can easily send one of these guys to the back of the map and then send shipments and or units, train them there. And with Japan's block of 10 upgrade from the council, when you side with Japanese isolation, you can train 10 units at a time, and you can just spawn a 50-unit army in a matter of minutes, which is ridiculous, on the other side of the map. So that's really something that I think people overlook a lot with Japan, and it's really, really good. But here we go. We're going to kind of touch on the Yumis first. So I did a little strategy where you combine Ashigaru Musk with the Yumi, and it does a great job. The Yumis are not my favorite in the game. I prefer the longbows more because I think the longbows are better earlier on. But later on in the game, the Yumis are the best bow that you can really have. They can get upgrades from the Golden Pavilion. You can set that to range, and it gives you a range attack bonus, which also you can do with the Musketeers. So that's really great. And then they have some good cards. There's a card that increases their range as well, which is a very solid card to get. I think they have the 3rd longest range in the game, if I can think correctly. I think Arrow Knights and Yeoman are above them, longbows. But yeah, so really enjoy them. I think they're good in team games. If you're doing a single player match, it's kind of hard because all of the other Japanese units cost coin. So these are really the only ones that use wood. But they are fun to use. I like doing the musketeer rush and then sending shipments of the bows. And then on top of that, sending the crossbows from the council, which Portugal. Which is pretty, I think it's pretty solid rush strategy. It's fun to do and it's good balance. The only problem I had was siege, so I think I would incorporate a samurai card in there as well so you can get some better siege. That's kind of why in this clip here, you'll see me go around the base a lot and not go straight in for a town center, and that's why, because half my army was bow units. But I eliminated anything that he came up with, which was pretty solid. He had mostly bows, and we're just going to go straight into it here and attack. But yeah, so Yumi is a really solid unit paired with the musketeers. Very solid. I think they're really great late game, especially compared to the longbows. And yeah, I would definitely give them a chance. But also with that, I'm going to talk about the Portuguese upgrade real quick at the consulate. We can side with them. You can age up with 680 food, which is overlooked a lot. If you side with Portugal before your age up, you get the fast age up, so I definitely would do that. And then you get discounted shrines as well, so it's a really good bonus to have there. So next one here, we're going to talk about the samurai, and here just the samurai wrecking everyone in full glory right there. Basically, the samurai are that kind of unit where if you get in contact with them, it's game over. Skirmishers can do a decent amount of damage to them with range because they're heavy infantry, and then cannons do as well. But if you have 50 of them, you gotta be careful, because even if you take out 25 of them and half their army shows up and engages with your skirmishers is gonna get wrecked. So late game, pretty solid. They're very expensive, but the Japanese eco can pull up with it, especially with the shrines. And yeah, so those are the samurai. And then we got a mixed clip here, the Naginatas and samurai both going into action. And so we just saw the samurai in action. Here they're going to come in again. But the Naginatas are so good. And the reason is with that age 3 card, I don't remember the name of it. But it's with the I'm trying to think. I think it's green, it has like a green background, and it has something on it. I couldn't find images of the cards online for Japan, which is kind of unfortunate. I probably could crop something maybe sometime. But if you send in that card's age 3 for the Naginatas, they essentially become lancers that are not quite as good, but they do an incredible job against heavy infantry. And because they're kind of Hussar-like, they're not just like the lancers, they're kind of more Hussar-like. They do a decent amount of damage overall, because they're essentially Hussars with less damage, but they have multipliers, which the Hussars don't. So that's why they're so good versus those heavy infantry. So I really enjoy them. I think a lot of people, when they play against Japan, don't think that they have decent cavalry, and they really do. They do a great job. So I love pairing them up, and especially sending them around to get artillery and stuff like that. They're really great with that. And I want to talk about the Yabusame, I think it's called. The range cavalry for Japan is pretty good as well. I haven't used them as much. I don't think I even used them in any of these videos because I just didn't really need to. They're pretty pricey, but they do a decent job. I don't think they're as good as Dragoons, but they do a decent job for what they are. And that's kind of thing with Japan, is all their military units are solid overall. Like, none of them are extremely weak or anything. You would use any of them in a certain situation. And kind of depending on how you want to play, you can really shape your strategy the way you want to with Japan, which is something I really enjoy doing. It's nice to have a bunch of flexible options, especially in team games. Being able to switch mid-game is very useful and underrated. So yeah, that's a big plus for Japan. But yeah, as you can see here, just mowing down green, combination of samurai and skirm with our Naginatas is just too much for them to handle. The samurai late game are kings at taking down cities. Of course, the cuirassiers are for France, but the samurai just do so good. I think in a second here, he's gonna have a bunch of streelets come up, and samurai, and they're just gonna go right into that wall. Yeah, here they come. They're gonna go right into that wall and just go through them like butter. It's gonna be great. But that is that. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so it's that green card with the looks like a mannequin with a spear through him. That's the card that you want from the Naginatas. Look at that. That's great stuff right there. I love that. It's always great when you have hand infantry paired with some range behind it. They always do a good job here. So now we're going to talk about the Hatamotos, Daimyos, and Shogun. They're just the Hatamotos. I can't even explain how ridiculous. I was talking about how good the samurai are. These are samurai on like something next level. I can't even explain the jump up that these guys are compared to samurai. This guy has a 50 stack army of samurai, and I have like 16 maybe. And the Hatamos are gonna destroy these samurai no problem. It's just so awesome to watch. I love watching the XP fly in the air. But these guys are great. I think there's a card where it sends in or it changes something to export. I think it's maybe it changes your coin to export or something like that. It might be the other way around. I think it's coin to export. But if it is coin to export, I would send that in because then you can send a bunch of these guys late. But if you send these guys late in the game, it's kind of like that hidden weapon that if you're stuck in a little confrontation that they can break through. And paired up with the Daimyo and the Shogun are just so good because you can spawn in supporting troops. So let's go into pros and cons. I'll kind of talk about the Daimyo and Shogun there too. So pros are the shrines. I guess it could be a con as well. But I think it's more of a pro than anything. These shrines, so they compensate to where Japan can't hunt. Because historically, as for I think it's Shinto Buddhism, they couldn't eat meat on land. They could eat like fish and stuff, but they couldn't hunt. So to compensate for that, they gave them these shrines that can herd animal or like house animals basically while they're eating there, and then you get like an XP or you get a unit resource bonus, not XP. XP is for India. You get a resource bonus. So there you basically get factories age 2, which everyone overlooks with Japan. You have Food Wood Coin Factory age 2. You can spam these out super easily. You want to use the Heavenly Kami card, age 1 or age 2, to spam these out because it makes them cheaper and then their resource gathering is increased. So that's what you want to do with the shrines. So you get that. You get Factory age 2. You get free scouting across the map because you can build them with your explorers, which is also kind of ridiculous. You can build them with your explorers across the map, and then you can build them at hunts that your team or like your enemy would later use in the match. So, for example, if I'm playing like who lets like a food-heavy nation, if I'm playing, let's say like Portugal, who needs to get a lot of town centers out and spawn a bunch of villas out, so they need hunts like that. If I build my shrines high in advance in the game, and let's say he ages up, he goes like Fast Fortress or something, ages up and wants to toss a town center out next to a hunt that's kind of nearby and secure it. If I already have shrines there, I'm going to see where he's going. And then on top of that, it's going to be blocked off. He's going to have to destroy it. So that's really underrated. I think that's something that's kind of cool to see. Because you can also on like, so if it, in the opposite light, if you're playing and you can kind of see through the fog of war, if you can have the area scout out, right? You can see the animals kind of lined up all parallel in area 4, and that kind of indicates where a shrine's at. So strong military, as I was saying earlier in the video, each one of their military options is very strong. None of them lack in any way. Honestly, it just depends what strategy you want to do. So that's great to have there. Great cards. The 2x card is very underrated once again. You literally have 2 cards stacked on top of each other. It takes up 1 spot in your deck. So whoever thought that was a good idea for Japan, which already they have so many bonuses, was really pushing it. But my favorite is a 7 Villi card, age 3. You can send in 14 Villis, and it takes up 1 card spot. Obviously, it's 2 shipments, but it's still one of my favorite in the game because it really pushes your eco ahead. And then other great cards, obviously the Naginata one I was talking about. You have some good train time ones with your Shogun and Daimyo. There's one, I think it's age 3, that you can send it, increases train time. There's one that increases attack for Daimyo, Shogun, and Samurai, stuff like that. There's the one for your Yumi, which increases the range. There's the age 1 Heavenly Kami, of course. There's age 1, I forget the team gathering card, that it's 8% gathering increase for your team. It's outlined in green, it's for your team. That's also a good one. And then age 4, you have your team cheap unit upgrades, which discounts all the upgrades for units on your whole team, which is, I love that card. That card's great to have. If someone's on your team has that card, they send it in, it helps so much. And then, of course, there's others. like your daimyo. You can send in daimyos from each age, but those are the ones I really like the most. I mean, you could send in the one with 300 export, age 2. That one's great as well. It kind of gives you a boost if you want to do an export strategy. But there's a very good variety of cards there you can send in, and they're all pretty solid. So then insane wonders. Guys, okay, I think Japan has the best wonders out of any of the civs. India has some decent ones with the fort. But overall, Japan with the shogunate, which decreases the cost of your units, and then you can retrain the daimyo and shogun from that. And then I think it also decreases train time. I'm pretty sure. So that's kind of ridiculous. You have the Buddhist temple or the Buddhist statue where you get informers and can see the enemy. It's literally spies for like 5 to 10 seconds. And having that changes the tide of games so much, especially when you're planning an attack and you can see someone on a coin mine all the way across the map. It's so ridiculous to have. But yeah, that's really annoying. And in treaty matches, it's kind of annoying because you can kind of see what's going on as well. So those are both really good ones. And then you have the shrine that you can get. I normally age up with that one because it gives you the nice boost when you're advancing on early in the game, kind of if you want to boom. I think it's pretty good. So that one's good. And then I'm trying to think of the other one. The Golden Pavilion has those upgrades for your units. That one's pretty solid as well. I normally do that one at age 5, kind of just to get the topping off. And then you can choose the ability that you want, if you want close range or long range or whatever. So those are all very solid wonders. Highly recommend using them. Obviously, I mean, like, you have to, but I would highly recommend the Shogunate, age 3 maybe. I would normally age up with the Shrine just to get the boost. And then I kind of normally would do the Buddhist statue going in age 3 because at age 3 being able to see the whole map helps out a lot, especially in a team match. So that's kind of my order. I mean, I guess if I was doing a 1v1, I would probably do the Shogunate age 3. I think having the train time, being able to retrain your daimyo, and having the discounts pretty nice too. But it just depends on the situation. But they're all pretty good options. The Torii Gates are decent. I would only really do that age 1, going 1 and 2, going into age 2. But yeah, so it depends what you want to do. I think their wonders are pretty insane overall, especially with the informers. That's just really pushing it over the top. So no hurting. I'm putting as a pro because you don't have to worry about hurting. We're just going to move on from that. Daimyo and Shogun. So being able to train units from them obviously is really good. I was saying that earlier. Their bonus effect is great as well. I also think they're pretty good because they can soak up a lot of damage if you have them early on. Maybe if you send the one age 2, that guy can soak up some damage for you, and you'll be fine. Like, overall, I think it's pretty good. It's a big distraction point as well. Like, if you kind of send them around, your whole army wants to chase them. But there are times where late in the game you're playing against Japan, and if he has 2 or 3 of these guys, and he's just training on top of each other and behind the army, you can't get to him. Like, like, as soon as you come after them, they'll stop the training, they'll run him around, and then whatever army he has will just annihilate him. You really have to, like, get like 10 dragoons, 10 to 20 dragoons, and just run across to focus on them, which is very annoying. So they're annoying to deal with on top of it. So yeah, those are a lot of the pros of Japan. I'm sure there's more that I can't think of because Japan is just so ridiculous. Like the block of 10 training is great. The council with the Dutch, where you can get the church and the arsenal, and that is also really great. And the bank as well. And the Hatamoto Samurai are so good. Like, all these different improvements that are really overlooked. So at the end here, we got cons. So slow start. Obviously, they don't have the best rush. I mean, you can do some decent work with them, but because they're gathering off the berries early in the game, before you get your shrines out, they're going to struggle. So that's kind of an obvious one. Expensive units. So their units are expensive. The musketeers are expensive. Naginas are expensive, along with the samurai. So you do got to be careful with that. But once the game gets on later, their eco explodes, and they do a great job. And then I put the 75 Villi Pop because I know some people will think that's a con. I personally don't think it's too bad because you have the shrines. And then once you get to age 4, you can get the upgrade where I think it's 500 food, wood, and coin. And then your gathering is increased rapidly as well. So So yeah, that's basically all Japan. It's really solid civ, probably one of the better ones in the game. I would put in a top 2, or top 3 at least. I would put it up there with France. The only thing is that if you do take down the wonders and stuff like that, they do get severely damaged because they can't get the daimyos and stuff like that. So that's like the only thing with Japan that's really bad, is you gotta make sure you keep your wonders up, because they kind of do start to suffer once that point is down. And then obviously the shrines as well. But other than that, very solid civ, highly recommend. Let me know your guys' thoughts below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.